When in doubt, cut it out. All right, come on, I wanna show you, it's right this way. I've been working on this project. I think you're gonna love it. I'm so excited about it. I'm just all in on this one, and it's some of my best work yet. This is Project Senna. This is Senna, 1928 Ford Model A with the heart and soul of a Formula One car. I'm combining a 1928 Ford with a Formula One race car. This build is paying tribute to Ayrton Senna, the famous F1 driver. Project Senna is a commission build, and the owner for this car is named Bill. Bill is from Brazil, and growing up, Bill's idol was Ayrton Senna. And when Ayrton Senna was winning everything, he was the hero, Bill's hero. In 1994, Ayrton Senna died in a tragic racing accident. It's probably one of the most well-known racing accidents ever.
Senna bateu forte. Ali na Tamburello. A batida muito forte.
Now we have an opportunity to pay tribute to Senna and all of his achievements, and we're gonna do that through this car. It's gonna have a big fat Marlboro sticker right across the back wing. This is a one-of-a-kind build. The only place you're gonna see a car like this is gonna be on the Need for Speed video game. They have a car called the F132, and it only exists in the digital world. But that lives in your TV, it lives on your computer. We're gonna take that and make it real. Anybody that knows me from Car Masters knows that I don't just like to copy what everybody else has. We find inspiration from all sorts of places, but I really want to make this car my own. So we're starting with a 1928 Ford instead of a 1932. And there's gonna be a lot of changes throughout the build. It's Honda powered, but this is gonna be street legal. I don't know if we have a small race car, a giant go-kart. This is gonna be one badass car that's gonna rip around the roads. We have monster tires, so basically what I put on this car is gonna be street legal drag tires. When I found this car, it was an original 1928 Ford Model A. The original engine had been removed and it had been in a fire. It was part of an electric conversion that went south. I know a little bit about electric conversions, and when they don't go right, they go wrong horribly. And that's what happened with this car. Sometimes the cars talk to me, and this car just wanted to have a new life. Some builds go that way, and the cars don't fight you. A roach is short for a cockroach, which is short for a giant POS. Where most people see a roach, I'm already seeing the butterfly, and that's what we're gonna do here. To get to this point, we've made a lot of progress. When you start with a 28 Ford Model A, it all started with the body, chopping the top and getting it down to raw steel. When we got the body off the frame and removed all the fire damage, nothing gives it the hot rod look like chopping the top. The first order of business was to take 5 inches out of the roof. Adding some structure, and the next order of business was getting all the main components and building the chassis to fit. The heart and soul of this car is the engine. It's the Honda K20 engine. We have a crate motor from Honda Racing that's programmed and ready to run as a standalone race car power plant. The Honda K20 engine is mated to a Porsche transaxle. It's turboed. We're gonna have an extremely lightweight car. So 6-speed transaxle, 300 horsepower turbo in a car that weighs about 2,000 pounds. We're gonna have a slingshot here. A project like this is not for the faint of heart. You have to be able to bring all of these systems together and make them work as one cohesive unit. If you mess up any one thing, it affects everything. And we're talking about safety. When you get into brakes, engines, and all these working components, number one is they have to work and they have to be safe. I did a 3D scan on the engine, the transmission, the body, I use those 3D scans and figure out all of my chassis, suspension, and details from there. So everything's been engineered. One of the most unique parts of the Senna build is the suspension. It's all based on the MP4 McLaren F1 car. I was able to reverse engineer a lot of the geometry. So what they were doing was taking chromoly tubing and they were actually smashing it down and forming a round tube into an oval ellipse. I was able to source a manufacturer that makes oval tube chromoly, so I didn't have to smash my own tube. I was able to cheat. This is real unique. You're not gonna see it on your average hot rod build. We have a frame, suspension, engine and transmission is mounted, body is mounted to the chassis. I have foot pedals, I have a steering wheel and steering. There's seats in it, but the next steps are to take this rolling chassis and actually make it into a running car. So right now, my next step is to mount the radiator. And because we have a mid-engine setup, the radiator doesn't just mount in the front, it's gonna mount to the rear and off the side of the car. Remember, we're building these giant air duct side pods like a Formula One car. So first thing I gotta do here is take some measurements. This is where the radiator is gonna go. It's basically gonna sit in this back rear quarter area. We have to get good airflow. The most important thing with your radiator is your airflow, but it's not so important about your airflow in. That is important, but what's really important is your airflow out. It doesn't matter how much air you get in, if you can't get that air to leave, you have an air traffic jam. I like to use tape when I'm lining stuff out like this because it's just really easy to see and keep track of. What I have to do here is actually cut the side of the body out, but this is one of those things that you want to measure once, maybe 2 or 3 times. And once we cut the metal, there's no going back. This is going to be a major surgery. So the stakes are kind of high to get this right the first time. I'm ready to cut. Let's make some sparks. All right, that's a big hole. I like it though. All right, let me get the radiator, give it a little test fit. When you're cutting with the grinder and you have those little sparks that are flying, those you can feel them, and if you get a good spray, man, they're warm. They're warm. Those little bits of metal, each one of those is like a little metal meteor that's flying at you, and it'll bury into your skin. No, luckily I haven't caught my beard on fire. I've been pretty fortunate. I've caught a few things on fire. I've definitely caught my clothes on fire. I've burned some pants. I've burned some shirts. I've had some hot fire cherry balls from the welder drop into my shoes. Those hurt. Those hurt really, really, really in a special way. CarMaster Season 1, I had one of those hot cherry balls fly into my ear hole. That'll wake you up. Oh my gosh. That's, I don't wish that one on anybody. We got 10 inches off the body and 12 inches off the frame. And we're gonna be at a 45 that follows that 45. And so that's the magic number. So I'm gonna go design up this bracket. We're gonna have it laser cut, and we're gonna make a really nice fitted piece that is reproducible and has a perfect fit. I'm basically creating the blueprint as we build it. And if it doesn't work, it's gonna be a whole lot of work to go back and redo it and make changes. All right, so it needs a bracket. We gotta lock this baby down. And I have just the trick for that. while you were sleeping, I made this guy. This needs a little bending, but my idea is that this will go right here. And we're going to throw a couple of bends in it and lock it down. All right, I need my thinking cap. Throw a couple bends in that and see if we can't make it fit. So if I overbend it, you can sometimes do a little unbending. And I hate to admit that that happens all the time. And there's multiple ways to unbend it. Sometimes you can get it in the brake and kind of like force it back. Sometimes the only answer is to get a little crazy and beat it with a hammer. This is a metal brake, and this is a tool that you would find in most every fab shop. This is going to be like one of your fab shop essential tools, and they come in all different sizes. This one's pretty big, and it's adjustable. All right. I think it might need a little more bending, but that's all right. We can kind of squeeze her in there. All right, that doesn't suck too bad. I think we're almost there. I wouldn't call it perfect yet, but you know, we're on the way. If it doesn't suck, you're getting close, and sometimes if it sucks, you got to start over. If you pre-plan too much, you can spend your whole life designing and engineering and working out the problems, and you never get anything built. Right? This is not a vehicle factory like GM or Ford. They've got teams of engineers, designers, staff, builders. They put hundreds of millions of dollars into designing and engineering a vehicle. Right? We don't have that kind of time. We don't have that kind of resource. We have to just get in and get it done. So at some point, you got to say, okay, let's get building. When I'm welding and the light's on, you don't want to look at it. It's going to burn your eyes, but it's like a moth to a flame. Sometimes you can't help it. So if you see your eyes wandering and you're locked in, you got to snap out of it real quick. So now that the radiator's in, our next step is going to be our side pods. And what I want to do here is build out a structure and a frame that can get a skin over it. The side pod's going to go from the back of the body up into the door, and it has to separate. All right, look what I got. Let's just slice this baby open. And my cheat code for this one is exhaust tube. So this has nothing to do with exhaust. Not gonna make exhaust out of this kit. But what I am gonna do is build a structural side pod kit with all these bends. But also I get some free structure with this. It's tube, it's strong. So I'm gonna get started shaping this out. I see a straight piece. This is gonna mount to the body, so I see a straight piece there. I see a 45 coming back here. 45. Probably gonna use a couple of 45s. I think this is gonna 45 back into there. We're gonna come down and around. We're gonna angle in. So I'm gonna take a couple of measurements and we're gonna start building this side pod structure.
Always first at the finish line. First to the plate when it's dinner time. First to the plate when this shit goes down and these motherfucking clouds finna finish mine. Too real, hit it with a rhythm rhyme. 10 songs, this is cold in the winter time. I'm a boss, yeah, you know that I'm finna shine. Always first at the finish line. At the finish line.
All right, so I have my blueprint made for the lower side pod structure. I've got dimensions, I've got my angles. We're gonna follow the frame and kick out 58 degrees and then back in. We got some 45s. But the way I got here is our full car model. This box in the middle is our radiator. So I was able to take the measurements off of our tube. I have a guideline, I have a template. From here, I know what length each straight's gonna be. It's time for the rubber to meet the road and just get it done. I've got all these tube pieces to cut and I was trying to figure out what's the best way to get my perfect angles lined up. And I figured I needed a tool for this. So what I did is I made this on the 3D printer. I designed it up so it matches my 2-inch tube and my profile, and it's got all these lines on it. I've got my cheat sheet of cuts right here. Activate. Cuts are done. I have all my bends and they're numbered. So this is my kit now to make these pieces. So I'm gonna piece them together and line them up, and part of the trick here is making everything line up correctly. So this is a straight section here. Magnets are really, really good, really helpful. I'm trying to lock some things into position. I'm gonna close my eyes. So both sides of the car are gonna look identical. On one side we have the radiator, on the other side we have the intercooler. So the radiator side is gonna cool the coolant that runs through the engine. On the passenger side, we're gonna have the intercooler. And so that's actually cooling the air through the turbo system that runs into the engine. We're gonna have two identical looking units from the outside, but the plumbing is completely different on the inside. I think it's probably enough for right now to hold it together. Make sure it works before I spend a whole bunch of time welding it up. All right, let's see. Magnets, you're coming with me. I had checked out on the other side, and the motor mount's in a different spot. I might have to move it. Maybe it can move back to right there. That could work. That could work right there. I gotta cut this guy out of the way. That little thing is right in my way. Like I always say, when in doubt, cut it out. So you might just see a pile of scrap metal that you're thinking I should send to the recycle bin and get out of here, but this is some high quality stacking and alignment tools. So leftover material from old jobs in various sizes. And every time I build a frame or a chassis or side pods for a 28 race car and you need to stack some things up, this is how you do it. Grab the old aluminum blocks and you get your stack on. I'm going to set this up here. Too high. Step back and take a look here. That's pretty close. That's pretty darn close. Oh, I really like the way this is looking. You can see the shape of it. This lower tube follows the frame, and then it kicks out about halfway into the door. And this angle right here, this kick, that's going to be right where the air inlet is for this side pod. It's going to follow the body, kick out. We got a big air inlet, and on the top of the door is going to follow that same shape and come out. So this will all be sheet metaled in. We're going to have a nice skin. It's going to look solid from the outside with an air pocket, and then we'll have the air release out the back. So the next step is to weld this sucker on. We're in a really good place after today. With the side of the body cut out, this is a huge milestone for Project Senna. I feel really good about it, and I like where we're at right now. All right, it's looking good, but that's enough for today.